Aloha, fellow astro lovers. This is Vision Quest Astrology, back for another astro video. As you can probably tell, I am out on the open road right now. Got nothing but hours in road ahead of me, so I figured why not make a video since I've not done one in like a long time. I'm gonna try and like pay attention to the road, so if I'm like constantly not looking at the camera, please do not be offended. Just trying to not die over here. So I just wanted to talk with you guys and gals about what's going on in the sky these days. I've been particularly fascinated, and yeah, just create some dialogue about that. So just to give an overall overview, you know, we're still, even though we've been out of eclipse season now since, I want to say as of it's actually been 3 weeks. I think 3 weeks since the lunar eclipse, which was in Libra. Yeah, it's been almost, we've been out of eclipse season for a month, and I put such a heavy emphasis on eclipse season, you know, because like I said in my past videos, they really carry you out through the next 6 months that you're going to be of your experience of life. And so I feel they're just super potent times, and so even the last month I've still kind of felt the intensity of that, and it's finally kind of dying down a little bit, but it's definitely still there. So, you know, Mars and Mercury are both in the retrograde shadow zone, which happens with any planet. Usually before a planet goes retrograde for a couple of weeks to a month, it's in what they call the shadow zone, and you kind of start feeling the effects kind of bubbling up even before it goes retrograde. So you got to feel it for even longer, basically. It was kind of like, ah! So I've definitely been feeling that with Mercury. I've been feeling it with Mars, and just kind of gearing up for it. It's because, you know, Mercury and Mars are both more interpersonal planets. The fact that they'll be retrograding both soon around the same time is going to be pretty like, whoa. So let's kind of brace ourselves here. Speaking of bracing ourselves, someone on a bike totally trying to jet me off. Get to, hopefully y'all might see some of my road rage here in a little bit. So yeah, with that, we also have Saturn that is retrograde now. And Saturn, oh boy, Saturn retrograde is always a really, I don't do as well with Saturn retrograde as I do some of the other planets. You know, when any planet retrogrades, the effect of that planet is really turning inward. And, you know, Saturn can be pretty dreary and hard and dry and just super difficult sometimes. And so I've noticed a lot of people start to get really depressed when Saturn goes retrograde, and it can be like kind of because, you know, you wouldn't think that you're dealing with a lot of emotional stuff with Saturn, but you're kind of dealing with the hardening of emotion with Saturn, especially when it goes retrograde, because you're feeling it inwardly. Saturn loves to measure your progress. More than any planet, probably. Saturn's like breaking out that measuring tape and is like, yo, this is how far you've grown. This is how well you're doing. And it's, sometimes that's not always fun, and sometimes it is cool, you know, when you're happy with your success. It's like, okay, I got from point A to point B. And then sometimes you got from point A to B, but then you took some steps backwards that you didn't see coming, and you have to look at that. And I'm looking at my own life right now and my own goals and processes and different things I'm doing, and I am constantly measuring, okay, like, whoa. But I want to remind all of you, where Saturn is concerned, that, you know, it's so easy to be really hard on yourself, especially while Saturn's retrograde. That's why this is a really big deal for me, this one. To remember to be kind to yourself. Please be kind to yourself, people, and just take it easy. Remember that you are human. Something tells me you are all doing the best that you can, and if you have a goal in mind for something, you're working towards a vision and a dream and actualizing it, that just remember, you know, the earth wasn't created in a day, or maybe it was, I don't know, depending on what your belief and philosophy system is. Maybe that is true, I don't know. But regardless of all that was a dumb metaphor, wasn't it? Just know that things take time, they take persistence, and they take effort. So to not just to not lose sight of that, because it's very easy to. It's super easy to right now. And because, you know, Saturn being in Sag has more of that optimism and happy-go-lucky mentality, so we kind of have that going for us, and Mars being in Sag too, but we do have to really we have to pace ourselves, and, you know, some things are quicker than others, and then some things are slower than others, and you just gotta do what you can along the way, and just do your best. As long as you're doing your best, you know, we're constantly growing, we're constantly changing and evolving, especially in these times. Pluto and Capricorn, right? It's a big deal, but, you know, just do the best you can and take it easy. Give yourself a break. And then maybe in areas where you're giving yourself too much of a break and not putting in enough work, look at that too. And it's always a balance. It's always a balance. So just do that and keep on doing your thing. But since we're talking about Saturn and Sag, I think it's also important to talk about Mars in Sagittarius, which is, like I said earlier, going retrograde soon. Did I say that? It's like, you're probably like, dude, you've said that 10 times now, shut up. Well, I'm gonna say it again. Mars is going retrograde. I'm like, I'm not scared, but I'm kind of like, because, you know, Mars is such a fast-paced, action-oriented planet, and so when Mars goes retrograde and we turn inward with that one, it's kind of like, it's not a normal function mode for Mars. And especially Mars being in a fire sign right now, like Sag, that's going to be kind of interesting. And while Mars is retrograde over the summer, like I said, he's going to go back into Scorpio. And it's going to be interesting because, you know, Mars is such a fiery, dynamic, and a very self-assertive planet, okay? And and Mars being in a fire sign right now in Sag is kind of really helping out Saturn being in Sag, kind of like, a lot of our goals right now are very Sagittarian, so Mars is like really propelling that Saturn and Sag energy right now. But as he retrogrades here soon, we're going to be kind of going back and reflecting on where we've been investing our attention, where we have been maybe spending too much of our energy, and where we're not spending enough. When Mars was in Scorpio, I found a lot was being stirred up inside of people, and that's things that were kind of, because with Scorpio energy, all that stuff you don't want to look at, all the dark, scary things, all of the taboo shit, all of the things that are underneath the surface start getting exposed. And so you're seeing it in Scorpio territory, and you're emotionally processing it and bringing it to the surface, right? And then when we get to Sagittarius, we start expressing it, because the fire signs really express what the water signs were previously bringing up, right? And what we're internally processing. And so to kind of get that relief from Mars and Scorpio and to go into Sag for a bit, I found like people have been having crazy confrontations left and right. I've noticed it in my own life with people, just a really short temper whenever Mars is in fire signs. I noticed that. And so now for Mars to kind of go retrograde and then go back into Scorpio over the summer, I feel like we're all going to have the opportunity to really digest everything that's been going on this year. Because I will say, this year has been really practical so far, I've noticed. Like dealing with the more practical sides of life so that we can best get done what we need to get done to achieve these things we're wanting to achieve, and to tend to the stuff we want to tend to, you know? The practical sides, like paying bills and you know, getting your car to work right so you can get to work, or if you work from home, you know, managing your entrepreneurship type business in a way that works for you and your clients, and you know, dealing with family matters that are important and ancestral stuff, and you know, making sure that your diet is healthy and well. You know, Jupiter and Virgo right now, we're still dealing with a lot of that, and the North Node there as well. So these things are very important, and so Mars is we're gonna kind of be going back and reflecting on that stuff. So that it's a lot, you guys. It's a lot going on, you know, even when it doesn't always seem like it. There's a lot going on behind the scenes, always. And even if it doesn't outwardly seem that way, like, oh, life seems kind of slow right now, it's kind of bland, where's the salt to spice this up, you know? But stuff is going on. Stuff is going on. So I know this was a huge, long ramble. I am sorry if this was completely boring and that you got nothing out of this, but I just needed to talk astrology for a little bit. Like I said, I'm on the road. I ain't got nothing better to do right now. So that is that. Thank you for tuning in. Please check out my website at visionquesthealing.com if you would like to book a chart reading with me. I'd love to work with all of you out there and talk astrology. So thank you, everyone, and as always, happy transiting.